Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviriyam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadetamastu Mahavidsavahe Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Jai Gurudev. Now we will begin Gita study with a recap of last session. I would like Mala first. Mala, please.
Should I do Bhagini? Mala?
Yes. Yes, please.
Nakankshe vijayam Krishna nacha rajyam sukhani cha kim no rajyena govinda kim bhogair jivitena va. I desire not victory, O Krishna, nor a kingdom, nor pleasures. Of what avail will a kingdom be to us, or enjoyments, or even life, O Govinda? Yeshamarthe kangshitam no rajyam bhoga sukhani cha ta imeva sthita yuddhe pranam styaktva dhanani cha. Those for whose sake we desire a kingdom, enjoyments and comforts are here on the battlefield, having resigned their lives and riches. Jai Gurudev.
Hemaji?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was on mute. Okay. I will say it again. So in the last few verses, Arjuna's mental and physical condition is described. His Gandiva is slipping, his skin burns, he is unable to stand, and his mind is spinning. And he says that he doesn't see any good in killing, no Shreyas in killing. And we also understood what Shreyas means. It means spiritual freedom, spiritual comfort. And the acts that are evolutionary and lead to higher states of consciousness and moksha. That's what Shreyas does. It causes progress in life. Whereas prayers, we have seen that prayers is that which leads to worldly enjoyment. And so Arjuna is saying that he sees no good in, no Shreyas in killing, and says, Nakankshe Vijayam Krishna. He says, Oh Krishna, I do not desire victory. And he's saying this because he wants to resist evil, but without killing. So this is what we have seen. Arjuna is in a dilemma and he's quite unsure of what he should do. And he's coming up with all excuses why he should not fight, even though it is his dharma as a Kshatriya to fight and protect his citizens. So now we will move on to the next verse. Today we will be discussing verses 34 through 40. And 34 recitation, please. Jayashree.
Yes. Acharya pitara putraha tathaiva cha pitamaha matula shvashura pautraha shyala sambandhinastatha. Acharya pitara putraha tathaiva cha pitamaha matula shvashura pautraha shyala sambandhinastatha. Jai Gurudev.
Who is reading English?
I'll go. Jai Gurudev. Teachers, uncles, sons, and likewise grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, and other kinsmen. This portrays the state of Arjuna's heart. It is full of love, full of life. From all sides, he finds different channels of love, pouring life into his heart and leaving it full. When love is full, life is full like the ocean. It is full like a silent ocean, for it ceases to flow in any direction. It just is. It is free from any desire. That is why Arjuna could only mention the names of relationships to portray the different fields of love and give expression to the condition of his heart. This verse, coming in the midst of verses which express many problems, presents a vast field of life in love and silently proclaims that there are no problems in this field. The field of love is an innocent field of life. Problems arise when attachment or detachment overshadows pure love.
The scientific research goes of this verse through Maharishi transcendental meditation. There is increased harmony, reduced hostility, increased cooperation. Teachers, uncles, sons, and likewise grandfathers, maternal uncles, father-in-laws, grandsons, brother-in-law, and other kinsmen. This relates to the scientific research saying increased harmony in international affairs, more positive progressive statements and actions of head of state, and greater national support for their policies and leadership. Jai Gurudev.
Okay, so in this verse, we see that Arjuna is seeing relatives in his enemies. In the beginning, it was, let me see who are all those enemies who want to fight with me. But now, because of what Sri Krishna Bhagavan said in the previous verses, Arjuna's mental status had changed. When Sri Krishna Bhagavan calls him by his name Partha, this reminds him of his mother. And now this huge wave of love comes. And so he's now saying, he's naming all the relatives in the opposite army. And now his heart is full with love. And this verse brings out a very beautiful point. And that is, Maharishi said in the commentary, field of love is an innocent field of life. Problems arise when love is overshadowed by attachment or detachment. So now he's saying that he sees relatives in the opposite army. He is attached to his relatives. And because of this attachment, it is now a big problem. How can I kill my own relatives? So that's the point he's saying, and asking Krishna that, look, I cannot kill my relatives, so I cannot fight. Okay, so now we will move on to the next shloka. Rajan? Or wait, any questions on this shloka, commentary, or what we discussed so far? This point about attachment and detachment is very important to understand. So if anybody has any questions, please go ahead. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one.
Jai Gurudev. Etannahantumichhami gnatopi madhusudana api trailokya rajyasya hetoh kim nu mahi krite. Etannahantumichhami gnatopi madhusudana api trailokya rajyasya hetoh kim nu mahi krite. O Madhusudana, Lord Krishna, these I do not wish to kill, though killed myself, even for the sake of sovereignty of the three worlds. How much less for this world? Jai Gurudev. Should I read the English also, Bhagini?
Anita ji?
Yes, I'm here. I thought they'll start. So the English commentary goes, Madhusudana means the slayer of the demon Madhu. By using this name, Arjuna suggests to Sri Krishna Bhagavan that as the slayer of the demon, he may rise to kill the Kauravas if he finds that they are demonical. But as far as he himself is concerned, he finds that they are dear relatives and noble elders whom he would do anything to protect. Whatever the cost of letting them live, he cannot think of killing them. Arjuna speaks as only a conscientious, deeply thoughtful, and brave man will speak. This is his character. He stands for principle. Nothing can tempt him to deny the high ideals of life. That is why his thinking is so uncompromising. The words, even for the sake of sovereignty of the three worlds, indicate that Arjuna's vision was not restricted to the field of man's life on earth. Only such a man as he could challenge the value of sovereignty over the three worlds. Such is the height of human consciousness which upholds Arjuna even at this hour of his great concern. The scientific research of verse 35 goes, improved relationship with co-workers as verified through Maharishi transcendental meditation. These I do not wish to kill, though killed myself, relates to increased capacity for warm interpersonal relationships, improved relationship at work, an improved personal relationship, better family health, greater selectivity in personal relationships, and increased sensitivity to the personal feelings of others. Jai Gurudev.
So here Arjuna is coming up with another reason why he doesn't want to fight. And he is telling Sri Krishna, you killed the demon Madhu, and you're capable of killing, demons or anybody. And he says, you can kill Kauravas if you think they are demonical, but I'm not going to kill them because they are my relatives and I don't want to kill them. Not even for the sovereignty of the three worlds, leave alone this earth. So Maharishi said, this is how great men think, even at this hour of great, moment where he's supposed to be performing his dharma, he's still at the height of consciousness and he's thinking about good for the others, and he thinks that killing is not good and he should not be killing, not even for the benefit, the profit that he will be getting. If he kills the enemies, he will get the kingdom from Kauravas. That, of course, they are justified to get. But he's saying even that justified kingdom that he will be getting by killing his own relatives, he's saying, I don't want that. Nakankshe Vijayam Krishna. I don't want the victory and I don't want the kingdom. I don't want any of these material comforts. And this is the reason he is telling Sri Krishna Bhagavan that he does not wish to fight. So the message he's giving is pretty simple and straightforward. So, and the scientific research also, we have seen how with the regular practice of transcendental meditation, our interpersonal relationships improve, and there is more love and caring in the interpersonal relationships, more friendly relationships, less hostility, less arguments, and all this we see with the regular practice of transcendental meditation. Okay, any questions on this? Okay, so shall we move on to the next verse? Go ahead, please, Samskrita.
निरत्यधार्तराष्ट्रान्नः का प्रीतिः स्यात् जनार्दन पापमेवाश्रयेदस्मान् हत्वैतानाततायिनः निहत्यधार्तराष्ट्रान्नः का प्रीतिः स्यात् जनार्दन पापमेवाश्रयेदस्मान् हत्वैतानाततायिनः. जय गुरुदेव.
What happiness could come to us from slaying the sons of Dhritarashtra, O Janardana, Lord Krishna? Only sin would come upon us through killing these aggressors. This verse presents another change in Arjuna's vision. In the opposing army, he has been seeing just his own kinsmen. Now, once again, they are all the sons of Dhritarashtra, these aggressors. Arjuna has so far looked at the situation from the aspect of love, but has arrived at no solution to his problem. He therefore decides to consider it from the mind with discrimination and intuition, yet cannot suddenly abandon the fullness of love in his heart. Maintaining that fullness of heart, he begins to make more use of his mind. As he gives himself over to reason, the call of duty begins to gain ground. With this, his vision changes. He begins to see his kinsmen as aggressors. The reality begins to dawn. Seeing them this light, Arjuna asked, what happiness could come to us from slaying the sons of Dhritarashtra? And when he starts thinking in these terms, he finds killing is sin. The act of killing does not produce life-supporting influences for anyone at any time. Killing is a sin for all time. No matter who is killed, killing is sin. The pain and suffering caused in the act of killing produce negative influences in creation, and the reaction recoils on the killer. So Arjuna says, only sin would come upon us. The killing of aggressors is supposed to be a right action. The aggressor's life is put to an end, and thereby he is prevented from producing more negative influences from himself and others. But this justification of killing arises from a completely different consideration. The act of killing as such is sinful, and this is Arjuna's main concern here. Arjuna can see killing as sin even when he is on the battlefield. This indicates that his mind is clear and his vision not obstructed either by feeling of the heart or by the call of duty. He is deep in thought, evaluating the situation from every side. Arjuna is at a high pitch of mental and emotional activity. Both his alertness of mind and fullness of heart are displayed in the innocent utterance of truth. Only sin would come upon us through killing these aggressors. The expressions, what happiness could come to us and only sin would come upon us, indicate that happiness and suffering are considered as well as sin and virtue. For suffering results from sin and happiness from virtue. Jai Guru.
The scientific research of this verse through Maharishi Transcendental Meditation goes integration of brain functioning, more principled moral reasoning, high levels of EEG coherence measured through transcendental meditation are significantly correlated with more principled moral reasoning, as well as with higher creativity, greater efficiency in learning new concepts, higher verbal intelligence, less neuroticism, higher academic achievement, clearer expressions and experiences of transcendental consciousness, and greater neurological efficiency. Only sin would come upon us through killing these aggressors relates to increased moral maturity, increased satisfaction, increased moral, ethical self, increased social self. Jai Gurudev.
So now there is a change in Arjuna's thinking. First, he said, let me see all the enemies with whom I'm going to fight. Then he said, no, I can't kill my relatives because, killing is bad. Now, again, he sees his relatives as aggressors. So he's going back and forth. And he feels that killing them or anyone for that matter is a sin. And Arjuna is right about that. Maharishi said, no matter who is killed, killing is a sin. But there is a big but in this situation. Killing of aggressors is the right action. And why is that? Because when the aggressor's life is put to an end, he is prevented from producing more negative influences for himself and for others. So if one doesn't stop this aggressor, then he will continue to keep on killing people. There are situations we all heard on the news. There are some serial killers. They kill one person and go on to the next, kill the other person, keep on going. And they keep on killing people until they are caught by the police and put in jail or something like that. So if the police does not do their job, their duty of catching the aggressor, the killer, and isolate him, put him in jail, he will continue to kill other people, other innocent people. So that is not right. And so those whose duty is to protect citizens, they should go ahead and stop this aggressor's action of killing the innocent people. So that's a different consideration. Killing in certain circumstances then becomes very appropriate. So in this verse, we see that Arjuna is bringing up two more points. And he's saying one point is that what happiness could come to us, he's saying, by killing. And the second point he's making is that only sin would come upon us, because he knows that by doing wrong, that is sin, we get suffering as a result of doing sinful acts. And by doing punya karmas, by doing good deeds, happiness comes to us. That point is clear in Arjuna's mind. What is sin? What is the result of doing sinful acts? That brings us bad karma back. And what is the result of doing punya karmas? When you do good deeds, then happiness will come back to us. This is the basic fundamental rule, fundamental karma philosophy that we will be studying extensively as we continue our Gita study. And this point is clear in his head. So he's saying killing is sin, so I will not kill. And he's saying the happiness comes from doing punya karmas, and killing is not a punya karma, so I will not fight. So this, conflict is going on in his mind, and he's expressing that to Sri Krishna Bhagavan. And the scientific research also we have seen, on one side, the mind is alert. And it is shown in the scientific research that the moral reasoning increases, it improves with the regular practice of transcendental meditation. And, now as we continue, we find that this moral reasoning needs to be taken into account, considering all the other points in the current situation. What else is going on? And so that's where the value of discussing with Sri Krishna comes. He's saying one thing at one time, and he's saying, no, I can't do that the other time. So all this argument going on in his mind, he is putting forth in front of Sri Krishna and, hoping to get an answer to that. And that we will see is going to happen, as we continue our study. So I'll stop here and invite any questions or any comments or any
Yes,
appealing point.
Yes, Hemaji.
Yes.
Could I add a point here?
Yes, sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So here we also see that now Arjuna has started to see his kinsmen as aggressors. So we now see that how the reality is beginning to dawn upon him, because earlier he was talking about killing his relatives. Now he has changed into killing as sin, not the relatives. So that means he has now improved, gone one step higher, though he is in the same sequence, but the reality of his development of consciousness is slowly rising.
Yes, that's another beautiful point you brought out. He doesn't want to kill his relatives, not only relatives, but he's saying killing is sin, just plain sinful act. So I'm not going to kill, not even other people. So that's the a point that is coming up with this verse. Good. Any other points anybody wants to make? Or any questions? Okay, so now we can go on to the next verse. Go ahead, please.
Jai Gurudev. Tasmannarha vayam antum dhartarashtran svabandhavan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhinah syama madhava tasmannarha vayam antum dhartarashtran svabandhavan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhinah syama madhava. Therefore, it would not be right for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, our own kinsmen. How should we be happy after killing our own people, O Madhava? Jai Gurudev.
Durga? Or Anita ji? I don't remember.
Arjuna's arguments have further. Previously, it was only his wish not to kill, but now he finds that it is not right for him to engage in killing. In this verse, Arjuna seems to weigh the killing of his kinsmen in terms of the happiness which could be derived from it. Could any happiness remain after killing them? This does not mean that happiness is the criterion of action for Arjuna. He only wants to emphasize that he does not even see any happiness to justify it. Happiness has certainly to be taken into account while considering the performance of any action, because the aim of any action is increase of happiness. The very purpose of creation and the evolution is the expansion of happiness. So, if happiness does not result from an action, then that action defeats the very purpose of action, and its performance cannot be justified. This is why Arjuna says killing would not be right for us. The scientific research of verse 37 through Maharishi Transcendental Meditation, this verse is verified by saying decrease family problems. Patients seeking treatment for traumatic stress who led Transcendental Meditation program showed a significant reduction in family problems in comparison to those receiving psychotherapy. It would not be right relates to better family health, increased capacity for warm interpersonal relationship, increased friendliness, greater respect for the views of others, improved ability to appreciate others, greater attentiveness to others, and increased moral ethical self. With this, I come to the main points of verse 37. And there are only three very important points in that. The first is what Arjuna is thinking at the moment. When your thought is at the level of I and mine, and our thoughts are pertaining to the physical existence, then everything which is connected to our relations and relationship work on our mind. But if you understand the immortal free Atma, which is different from body, we understand the eternal self, then this type of thinking would not arise in Arjuna. The second is that it is his great concern for his relative because he is still in that quality of moha. He has not got that ability to find out what is correct because he at the time feels that whatever he is thinking, like we'll see in the next verse, whatever he is thinking is right. But he has to understand that unless one knows the situation and comes up to that level of thinking, we cannot call any situation right or wrong. And the third most important point, which Maharishi has brought out also, is for the creation of this world, the very purpose is happiness. And what is happiness, he says? Any action that we do brings happiness. Now, here Arjuna feels, now, how can the killing bring happiness? Killing is also the action. So, if happiness does not result in your action does not result in happiness, then you defeat the purpose of action, because with action happiness has to come. And we have seen that in our daily life. Whenever we do something, we do it for the betterment, we do it for the happiness. And if that happiness is not the outcome of our action, then the purpose of action is defeated. Jai Gurudev.
Any questions or comments?
Yes, may I?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Jai Gurudev. Anita ji just mentioned about you have to understand the action from the level of the circumstances. Would you care to please elaborate a little bit?
Yeah. At the moment, Arjun feels that what he is saying is right. What he is thinking is right. But in the next verse itself, Bhuvan, it will be clear. Because in verse 39, it very clearly mentions when Arjuna says what he knows is right, that is not right. There's something more to that. And that is how we come to that power of evolution to the absolute state. So it's going to come right in the next verse.
Are you indicating that one needs to be conscious of one's own limitation of understanding?
No. I am saying that one has to rise in your consciousness to that level to understand whether the situation you are talking about is right, because what you are saying is right may not be right to me. Now, who will judge what is right and wrong? Somewhere Maharishi says, you say this is right, I say no, this is not right. Now, who will give the judgment who's right and wrong?
Yeah,
Right?
it's one will always be then limited by one's lack
No,
of
no,
complete
no.
knowledge.
If your consciousness has been elevated to that level, then the first thing, outcome of transcendental meditation is right action spontaneously. So here again, Maharishi will elsewhere says, do your practice, be regular, elevate yourself, be evolutionary in your purpose of action, because every action of yours has to be life supporting, nourishing. So when you reach that level, you don't, Arjuna has not reached that level. So when you reach that level, then you can decide that whatever you are, in what situation you are right. But first you have to evolve to that level. Am I okay, Mehemaji?
Yes. Bhuvan, does that answer your question? And
Yes,
Anita ji is going to throw more light on it with the next shloka. It becomes more clear. Because like she said, in the very next shloka, we are going to learn more about this, exactly this point that you brought out. It's a very, beautiful point you brought out. Who decides what's right or wrong? What's right for you may be wrong for me, like that. So let's move on to the next one. And I think we can continue this discussion on this very important point. Shall we, Bhuvan?
G, please. Thank you.
Okay, let's continue. Please go ahead, whoever is doing the Samskrita.
Yes, Yadyapyetena pashyanti lobhopahata chetasaha kulakshayakritam dosham mitradrohe cha patakam yadyapyetena pashyanti lobhopahata chetasaha kulakshayakritam dosham mitradrohe cha patakam.
English, please.
Although their minds clouded by greed, they see no wrong in bringing destruction to the family and no sin in jackery to friends. Maharishi ji has given English version for 38 and 39 together.
Shall I read the 39?
I'll do the scientific research of 38, then continue.
Yeah.
Okay. So the scientific research of verse 38 goes, increased self-actualization, improved self-sufficiency. The growth of self-actualization as defined by this test includes the development of openness, receptivity, a caring attitude, cheerfulness, positive thinking, spontaneity, and freshness of appreciation, self-sufficiency, loss of fear of death, and acceptance of self, nature, and others. Clouded by greed relates to increased self-reliance, increased self-sufficiency, growth of inner fulfillment, independent of outside stimulation, increase inner calm and tranquility. Jai Gurudev.
Okay, so we'll carry on because the commentary is in the next verse. Samskrita
Yes.
first. Yep.
Shall I read it?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Katham na keyamasmabhihi papadasman nivartitum kulakshayakritam dosham prapashyadbhirjanardana katham nagneyamasmabhihi papadasman nivartitum kulakshayakritam dosham prapashyadbhirjanardana.
Jai Gurudev. How should we not know to turn away from this sin? We who clearly see the wrong in bringing destruction upon the family, O Janardana, no shows Arjuna's chief concern at this moment. He tries to understand why he is unable to take a right course of action when he sees the truth of the situation, and even more so when he knows what is right. Arjuna expresses his concern over the influence of greed that has blinded the vision of his kinsmen and has prevented them from seeing the wrong. This again shows that Arjuna's vision is clear. The tone of the verse indicates that he does not give as much importance to the actual destruction as to the wrong that will result from it. But from all his purity and clarity of vision, Arjuna fails to see the right way out of the sin of killing that awaits him. He turns to the Lord Bhagavan Krishna to receive the light. Such moments in life make a man fall at the feet of God. Moments when he sees and yet does not see, moments when he wants to act, yet is unable to act. Shall I continue or we'll go with the discussion, Ma?
We have to do the scientific research now. Anitaji?
No,
No, Ma,
Hemaji,
it's
she's
there.
not completed the whole thing.
Can I
Yeah.
complete?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. When we investigate the invisible mechanics of nature, we find that everything in the universe is directly connected with everything else. Everything is constantly being influenced by everything else. No wave of the ocean is independent of any other. Each certainly has its individuality, but it is not isolated from the influence of other waves. Every wave has its own course to follow, but this course is dependent on that of every other wave. The life of any individual is a wave in the ocean of cosmic life, where every wave constantly influences the course of every other. Certainly, man is the master of his own destiny. He has free will, the greatest of God's gifts to him, whereby he has complete freedom of action. But having performed an action, he has to bear its consequence, for reaction is always equal to action. When people behave rightly, a corresponding atmosphere is naturally produced. And when such an influence is dominant, the individual's tendencies are affected by it. If in such an atmosphere of grace and glory, an individual is tempted to follow a wrong path, he is protected by the unseen influence of righteousness which surrounds him. Similarly, when a man fails in his efforts, the unseen working of nature is behind that failure. No amount of intellectual analysis can reveal to him why the failure occurs. He must rise to another level and realize the working of nature and the power behind it. He must rise to understand the laws of nature and the cosmic law which underlies all of them. Arjuna fails to understand why his decision to refrain from battle produces no result, and he continues to be drawn into the battle. It is not because he is in a state of confusion, but because no amount of intellectual clarity can provide anyone with insight into the complex working of diverse nature. Arjuna, although his consciousness is pure, has not yet fathomed the absolute being, which is the field of the cosmic law. This is why he fails to see that he is living in an atmosphere saturated with evil influence, in which it is not possible for virtue to survive for long. Arjuna is trying to refrain from fighting out of consideration for family and caste dharmas. He is not aware of the absolute state of dharma, whose power is leading him to fight. In consequence, he fails to see why he is unable to act according to his feelings. The following verse presents Arjuna's argument on how the path of evolution becomes extinct and bears witness to his concern for society. Jai Gurudev.
The scientific research of verse 39, verified through Maharishi Transcendental Meditation, relates to increased moral maturity. It has been found that university students who were practicing Maharishi Transcendental Meditation program showed significant higher levels of moral maturity in comparison to control students who were not participating in the program. Controls who were about to learn the practice displayed the same level of moral maturity as those who were not planning to learn, indicating that the observed difference among the transcendental meditation participants was due to change after learning the practice. Clearly seeing the wrong relates to correlation between high EEG coherence and greater moral maturity, greater intelligence, superior academic performance, and lower neuroticism. Now, the main points of those two verses, that is 38 and 39. In verse 38, we have seen how the thoughts here are powered by greed. They see no wrong in killing. This is one line of thought, but we clearly see there is crime in killing. Arjuna does not believe in this thought. So now see the situation. There are two types of thoughts that are going. One is also justified. They say we are killing, they justify that action and thought. But Arjuna does not justify that. Now, what happened? This is only the prevalence of thought in the minds of the two armies. That is verse 38. But now in verse 39, which is most important and which covers all the other 34, 35, 36, 37 verse, where we have seen repeatedly it has been reminded that killing is bad, this doing is bad. Now, why this repetition is there? Because Shri Krishna Bhagwan, by repeatedly telling Arjun to participate in that battle, is trying to raise his level so that he reaches the level to understand his dharma. The first word of verse 39, no. This shows that Arjuna thinks that I know the situation, I know the result of the action of the battle, I know that the other army is influenced by greed. He does not understand that his vision is clear. There is clarity in vision, but why Shri Krishna Bhagwan is still wanting him to fight? So he reverts back to Shri Krishna Bhagwan and he wants to receive more light from him, because every action, Maharishi ji says, has a reaction. So even if you have been given a free will to do something, you must not think the free will means complete independence, because every action of yours will have a reaction. Now here Maharishi says, if your actions are nourishing, they are purposeful, then what is the outcome of that will be right. The influences in the society will be right. But if your actions are not right, then you will have to bear the failure. The situation will not be up to mark. Why? Because your action was not right. So the second main point here is how you deal, what are your actions? And the third very important point is, however much you think about yourself that you are right, like Arjuna is thinking, any amount of intellectual clarity cannot give you the insight into the diverse nature of life, because our life is bound by the we have come out of that level, like I was trying to tell earlier, that Arjun so far has not fathomed the absolute being. So if you do not fathom the absolute being, then you will be refrained from doing your dharma, because all. So if your actions do not bring right results, that means you are not acting according to your dharma. So here, action, reaction, free will, and the situation, only not of the intellectual analysis, but of elevating yourself to fathom that absolute being is very important. And lastly, I would say, this can only be fathomed, the infusion of being in us, through Maharishi transcendental meditation and establish yourself in transcendental consciousness. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you, Anitaji. Any questions on this? Bhuvan, is this clear now,
Would
or
it
do you
be?
have any comments?
No, I was really wanted to connect because Anita ji mentioned it will get clearer in the next one. So I was very intently listening. Part of the comment was any amount of intellectual clarity cannot give you a glimpse to the diverse nature of life. Uh, this gives us all a handicap. We will obviously never get to that level of, I'm sorry, I can only speak for myself. I don't suppose I'm going to get to that level of consciousness I still have to function from wherever I am now at this point of time, and hoping that my mind gives me the right justification for the action I'm about to commit. If I start to doubt and start to question my level of consciousness all of the time, knowing very well that I'm not evolved enough sufficiently to know everything, then certainly it'll lead me towards more inaction, and that's also against dharma. So this inability, incapacity, whereas I need to recognize it, yet I also need the strength to still perform action. I'm always looking for Krishna to speak through me, to me through people, and I hope the words find seed in my heart and mind. Looking forward for the same through anyone's comments here, please. Thank you, Jagadev.
Bhuvan, that is why I rang you up yesterday to join our session today. Hemaji, he has been missing in our session. So yesterday I gave him a
Yes.
call to come back.
Oh, okay. So
I'm so glad he's back.
yes, so many very important, very beautiful points are coming out. These are the things we face in our practical daily life. This Mahabharata is going on inside of our head. It just not happened some 5,000 years ago. And then as we study different Gita shlokas and the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna, we are getting more and more knowledge of how to handle these different situations. So now I don't want you to get disappointed that, you're not fully enlightened yet. And so, you may never be established in that state where you are doing what is dharmic for you. In some other tape, I don't remember where, Maharishi said that until we get to that state, we utilize our, mind and heart and make decisions on whatever level we are. Number one, we started meditating, we started transcending, we are rising in higher states of consciousness. So we are moving in the direction where all of our acts will be spontaneously right. So as we are moving towards higher states of consciousness, we are engaging in spontaneous right action. It may not be perfect, but we are getting there. And the other thing Maharishi said is that when we are in a situation, we don't know what to do, we take into the whole situation into account. And he said that we follow what we know to be right or wrong. And when we are growing up, our parents taught us lying is bad, stealing is bad. So in that kind of situation, we don't lie, we don't, steal. So we learn from our upbringing. And in some other situation, there may be, different kind of situations. Stealing and lying, of course, people of our status, we don't do that. But we may be in situations where in dealing with other people in interpersonal relationship, there may be a situation where you may be hurting somebody's feelings. And then how you respond to that situation, it depends upon our level of consciousness. So we try to see the situation from others' point of view. And we also get the techniques of how to handle difficult situations in life. There may be a situation where you see somebody is very good, but one situation may be hurting your feelings because of the situation that person is in. That other person's situation may not be perfect. So in this situation, we know, once Maharishi said, when we buy a rose, we are paying for the thorn also. So this other person is so good, so many good points about this person. But that one person's behavior in one situation may not be suitable for you. You may be getting your feelings hurt. And so now you have to realize, oh, okay, this person is a beautiful rose. Now I have to learn to hold the rose in such a way that I enjoy the rose, but still not pricked by the thorn. So when this understanding comes, then, it becomes easier for you to handle the situation where you are handling the situation in a better way so that you're not hurting so much from the behavior of the other person. So as we are moving, growing in higher states of consciousness, these things are unfolding. Bhuvan, does that make sense?
Yes, very much so. Thank you so much, Jagadev.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, if no questions or comments, we'll move on. This will be, we have one more verse to cover, verse 40. Rajan, please go ahead.
Jai Gurudev. Kulakshaye pranashyanti kuladharma sanatana dharme naste kulam kritsnam adharmo bhavatyuta. Kulakshaye pranashyanti kuladharma sanatana dharme naste kulam kritsnam adharmo bhavatyuta. The age-old family dharmas are lost in the destruction of a family. Its dharma lost, adharma overtakes the entire family. Jai Gurudev.
Shall I read then?
Yes,
Dharma,
please. Go ahead.
dharmas, the plural of dharma, signifies the different powers of nature upholding different avenues of the way of evolution. They take expression as specific modes of activity or different ways of righteousness, which keep the whole stream of life in harmony, every aspect of life being properly balanced with every other aspect and moving in the direction of evolution. As these specific modes of activities are passed on from generation to generation, they form what we call traditions. It is these traditions which are referred to here as family dharmas. Adharma means absence of dharma. When adharma prevails, the great power of nature, which maintains the equilibrium between positive and negative forces, is lost, and the process of evolution is thereby obstructed. Arjuna uses the word age-old because the ideals of life that have withstood the test of time represent the genuine path of evolution, the upward current in nature. Nothing that is against evolution lasts long. Therefore, the tradition which has survived the ages has certainly proved itself to be the right one, the one nearest to the truth, which is life eternal. That is why Arjuna is afraid to break this path of evolution for the generations to come. In this process of analyzing the quality of the act of fighting, Arjuna shows great foresight as a highly developed mind. It is clear that his thinking is extremely logical and correct, and that is certainly does not come from the superficial level of consciousness. Its basis is dharma, the basic power of evolution. Arjuna's vision is not restricted. The boundaries of his foresight lie far in the future. As a great man of his time, Arjuna, before entering upon an undertaking, gauges its influence on succeeding generations. Only such a heightened state of consciousness could inspire the dawn of great wisdom on earth. Arjuna's chief concern is the preservation of the path of evolution. With this in view, he places great value on dharma and on the conduct of society, which supports it and is upheld by it. Arjuna continues his argument in the following verse. The scientific research of verse 40 goes improved quality of national life through Maharishi transcendental meditation, improved quality of city life, indications of life increasing in accord with dharma, natural law, improved quality of national life, and decrease violent crime. Jai Gurudev.
Okay. So in this verse, we hear the word dharma again. When we first started Gita study with the very first shloka of first chapter, Gita begins with the word dharma. And there we discuss dharma in detail. But because it's such an important topic, what dharma is, let us refresh our memory of what dharma is from the first shloka of the first chapter. Pooja, please display the dharma on screen, please. Okay. These are the main points from the first shloka. I will read them out. Dharma is that invincible power of nature, which is the basis of everything in life. It maintains and supports evolution. Dharma promotes worldly prosperity and spiritual freedom. To understand dharma, we need to understand the mechanics of evolution. Evolution means growing from a lower state to a higher state. And it is carried out with two opposing forces, creative forces and destructive forces. When these work in harmony, there is righteousness. And man has the freedom. He has the freedom of action, and he can choose good or evil. So as he behaves, so he receives. And when you do good, it results in happiness, and doing bad results in suffering. Life is what we want, either suffering or joy. As you sow, so shall you reap. When negative forces increase, it leads to destruction in life, like suffering and war. With the increase in positive forces, there is increase in happiness and bliss consciousness. So the two armies of Kauravas and Pandavas represent negative and positive forces in the field of dharma. So that is the meaning of dharma. It's a very big topic with wide variations. And in this verse, 3 words are important. Verse 40, one is dharma, one is adharma, and one is sanatana. So we just discussed what dharma is. And here the word kula dharma is mentioned. Kula dharma means family traditions. And when these withstand the test of time, it means that they work because they have been going on for a long time and known to produce good results. And we also know that they are evolutionary. They produce good in the society and in the family. So that is the kula dharma. And the second word is adharma. That which obstructs dharma is adharma. And the third word here used is sanatana. Sanatana means eternal. We will talk more about dharma next week also, because Arjuna continues his argument about dharma in the next verse, which we will cover next week. And this word dharma comes many times in Gita. So for those who are attending regularly and who are serious about study of Gita, you may begin to make a note of how many times this word dharma comes in Gita. First time it is in the first chapter of first verse of first chapter, and now we are seeing it again in verse 40, comes again in verse 41, and then it comes again in second chapter, third chapter, etc. And so it's very good to understand about dharma. It's very important topic. And in the following subsequent chapters, we are going to discuss what swadharma is and what dharma in accord with natural law is, spontaneous right action. What is that? How an enlightened person's actions are always in accord with the natural law, and how they can be spontaneously right all the time after you reach cosmic consciousness. We see that all the actions are completely 100% in accordance with natural law, spontaneously right action. So all this comes as we grow in higher states of consciousness. So I will stop here and invite any questions or comments, or you can stop the display of this puja. We are done with this topic of dharma.
Hemati, can I add one point here?
Yes, please.
You know, you see how very Arjun is careful that in this battle, in this destruction that will come in this battle, his all traditions will also go away. So that shows that how much he is bound by his traditions of the family. And he's thinking that if everything goes away, that great, you know, how you speak of your family culture and traditions and carrying forward that, but the destruction of the battle will be so much that this all will go away. So he's very, very concerned about it.
Yes. He's looking at the situation from all different angles, not just one angle of dharma. What is dharma? What is kula dharma? What is swadharma? And all these things. It's a very, broad topic, and it's, very interesting, the discussion on dharma. And next week, we will go into the discussion of Sanatana Dharma also. What does Sanatana Dharma mean? And we say that Sanatana Dharma comes from the Manusmriti and Vedic civilization and Vedic culture. They're all based on Sanatana Dharma. So it's very useful for all of us to get more and more familiar with dharma, swadharma, Sanatana Dharma, what it is. In Manusmriti, Maharishi Manu explains Sanatana Dharma so beautifully. I will cover that next week, because in the next shloka 41 also, Arjuna brings up this point of dharma again. And in this verse, Maharishi mentioned the word Sanatana, eternal dharma, Sanatana Dharma, and next week it comes up again. So I'll be spending a few minutes on describing what Sanatana Dharma is. We all need to be very, very clear about that. Vedic civilization, Vedic culture are based on Sanatana Dharma that is proclaimed by Maharishi Manu in Manusmriti. There are 18 Smritis, and I think the most important is Manusmriti.
Yeah.
And it's I heard that it is respected all over the world. There have been people of other cultures and other countries who have appreciated and admired Manusmriti for the knowledge that had been given in Manusmriti by Maharishi Manu. It helps in personality development, self-development, and it leads to enlightenment. So here we are having the knowledge of self-development techniques leading to enlightenment, as opposed to some other techniques which are based on a very superficial level. And that is the biggest benefit of self-development, using these techniques, given to us, Vedic technology that Maharishi had given us. By using the transcendental meditation and other Vedic technologies, we are engaged in self-development, and this is leading us to enlightenment. How beautiful that is. What can be more beautiful than that? Instead of just changing your behavior on the surface level, we go to the depths of the situation. We treat the root cause of the situation, and then we get the beautiful result. And Maharishi's favorite saying, water the root to enjoy the fruit, and enjoy the whole tree. When you water the root, this is one simple technique, and that is, we do transcendental meditation. And then what happens? The whole tree of the life, it grows and it flourishes, because it is nourished by the transcendental meditation technique. From the root, the nourishment goes to all aspects of the tree. And so you enjoy beautiful leaves, beautiful flowers, and a delicious fruit. The whole tree looks beautiful. So that is the tree of life, which is nourished by the technique of transcendental meditation, which helps us to grow in higher states of consciousness. So that is how self-development leads to enlightenment, because we are using these very valuable techniques of transcendental meditation, the techniques of developing consciousness. So we'll go into more detail next time. I will stop now because it is time to stop. Any pressing questions you can ask now. Otherwise, if there are any birthdays, we will sing birthdays and then close with Shanti Path. Anita ji, did you want to say something?
I want, their word is Manuskarti. Manuskarti.
Smriti. Smriti.
Shimrati.
Smriti, yes.
Can you spell out this, please? Can I listen the tape on the YouTube about this one?
No, it is not on YouTube or anything. I mean, if you go on Google, I'm sure you will find so many. But the point I'm trying to make is that the knowledge of Sanatana Dharma is given in Manusmriti. I'll be covering that, Vinod. If you want, you can do some research on Google, but there will be so much that you may be getting lost a little bit. You can look up Manusmriti and Sanatana Dharma and what comes up. But next week, I'm going to go into the details of the 2 shlokas that Maharishi Manu gave us. And, I'll put on the Pooja or Sunita, whoever will share the screen. You will be able to see it on the screen, the 2 shlokas that I'm going to cover. And there are 10 points in Sanatana Dharma. I'll be covering all that. And, meanwhile, you can do your research if you want. That is fine. Okay, any birthdays? Okay, no birthdays. So we will move on. We will close with Shanti Path. Manish ji and Manish, Mukesh and Ghansham ji.
Hare.
Go ahead.
Ji. Hare Om Dhyo Shantirantarikshagham Shantehe Prathave Shantirapaha Shantirokhadhayaha Shantehe Vanaspatayaha Shantirvishave Devaha Shanti Brahma Shantehe Sarvagam Shantehe Shama Shantiredhi Jato Yataha Samihase tato no abhayam kuru shannaha kuraparaja bhayannaha pasubeyaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you. Now all of you can come on videos and let's say Jai Gurudev to Maharishi Ji for giving this beautiful knowledge to us, knowledge of life, knowledge of, Vedic wisdom. Next week, we will be covering the last 7 shlokas of the first chapter. And as I said, I will be covering about Sanatana Dharma. And the following week, we will do the summary of the first chapter. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev, ma'am.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev, Manish ji. Jai Gurudev, Bella is here, very nice. Vinod, nice that
Jai Gurudev.
you
Jai
joined.
Gurudev.
Yes. And
Joy
thank you all.
Gurudev.
Jai
Joy Gurudev.
Gurudev. Jai Gurudev, Bella. So nice that you joined.
Thank you.
Okay. Happy Makar Sankranti to all. It's a very auspicious day today with the transition of sun into the Makar Rashi. And Bhuvanesh Sharma ji is not here today, but he said it's very good to read Aditya Hrudayam or read or listen and Surya Sahasranama. You can listen to it, sit down, just close your eyes and listen to it very, relaxed, and this gives very beautiful results of enlivening that value of Surya, sun, in our own awareness. Okay, so we will close now. Jai Gurudev.
Can you listen to Vishnu Sahasranam without hand-free?
I'm sorry, what's that, Vinod?
Can we listen Vishnu Sahasranam without earphone?
Oh, yes, you can do that. No
With
problem.
family, with my wife, with my son.
Oh, yes.
Can I listen?
Yes. Everybody should listen to Vishnu Sahasranama daily, Maharishi said, if possible, all of it. Otherwise, 10 minutes in the morning and evening after our meditation program. But yes, you can play it, in your, house. And if you have 4 or 5 family members, all of them can listen to it. Actually, they should listen to it. You told me your family is a meditator family. They all do meditation. That's very good, Vinod.
Yes. Yes, thank you so much. Jai Gurudev.
Okay. Jai Gurudev. We'll close now. Sachin, you can close the meeting, please.